been thinking lately numerous times. You guys tell me. Actually wanted to ask you this. This isn't the main show, but I want to ask you in the pre-show here and tell me this, because this has kind of been pissing me off. This isn't what pisses me off about people today, but it's kind of what pisses me off about these algorithms and how much they're actually controlling us. Because a lot of times, have you ever been thinking about something or talking about something like in the car? And then a few hours later, something directly related to that shows up on your phone. And I don't mean you searched for something on Facebook, on Google, on whatever. I recognize that if you search on Google, they're logging that information. They're going to show you ads and related to it. It's like, yeah, it's a little creepy, but I get that. I'm talking about a completely different level that's up here where you can't see my hands because my camera's not in a wide angle mode. Where the other day, I was in the car and I was talking to Sandra in the car. And she made some comment, hey, remember that old meme where there was like the giant inflated tiger and he was chasing the giant inflated gazelle? It was like a cartoon, and then they kind of fell and they were bouncing. Like it was like one of those early internet before YouTube GIFs, right? Remember that? It's still around, of course. But we were talking just about that and kind of laughing about it in some context that I don't even remember. Right? Maybe it was like, that's how I feel today, is those guys. I kid you not, the next morning, I opened Instagram, and an Instagram story with that meme, this one, right here. This, okay? I'm sure you've probably seen this. Like the tiger's chasing the gazelle, and they both trip, and all the animals in this cartoon are like big inflated balloons, right? But here's the thing. I always thought that was a little funny, kind of a funny little video. But I haven't seen that in years, and I wasn't looking for it, right? It's not like it's that common, and we're talking about it in the car, and the next day this pops up on my Instagram feed, right? That's crazy. Now, if it was just one time, I would be like, okay, it's coincidence. But do you know how many times I swear, like, it's almost like you can't prove it. You don't want to admit it because you sound crazy. Guys, I will think things sometimes. And maybe it's just because I'm always online, right? Maybe it's just like there's some kind of internet rule for this where, if you're online enough, you see things. But sometimes I'll see something, I'll be like, I just thought about that 3 hours ago. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't look for it. I didn't search for it, and I haven't searched for it. And it's showing up, the thing that's somehow related to what I was thinking a few hours before. Now, I don't know how far the algorithm goes because I don't know of any technology that's that far, but I just want you guys to think about this, and then we're going to start the main show. But I just wanted to throw that out there because it's been on my head, and I want to leave you with a thought on that. Tell me in the comments or here in the chat what you think. But today I want to talk about actually something else, and that something else is about you guys. Okay, it's not exactly about you guys. It's about kind of humanity and people in general. And this is what pisses me off about people. And is that we give in so easy, just for a treat, for a circus, for a little bit of money. We give in so easy. And I see this in protests. I see it, I've seen it in the Patriot movement that was actually just, we're better than people from the South movement and we want our politicians to win so we can be fascists in the way we like. I see it with Latinos. I see it at the water park. Okay, I went to a water park the other day, and I think I'm going to do a whole video on this. So I'm not going to show you the video from this because I think I will do a video and kind of expose these scumbags. All right. I went, and there's a lot of water parks down here in Mexico. that you can go to, and they're pretty, a lot of them are, especially in this area in the Central Plateaus, there's these thermal springs. And so there's these entire water parks like the Grutas of Talantongo that get a lot of people, right? And they're places like this, right? And they're just these really cool, like the water's warm. So you can go to these places in December. This one was called El Hizer, and it's open 24 hours a day. The employees there were complete a-holes that were running the front of that place. So I went in there, and you know this thing, like everybody wants to search your bags. I'm so freaking sick of everybody wanting to search your bags, right? But you know what I'm sick of? You know what pisses me off about people? Is they let everyone search their bags. That's what I'm tired of. Why the bleep are you, well, if I have nothing to hide, right? And they tried to give me this garbage, right? Like, oh, well, it's suspicious that you didn't want us to look. I'm like, screw you. I didn't talk this way. I'll show this when I actually put this video out. I actually kept my calm and did the whole, like, try to adapt to the culture, speak very politely. Oh, thank you. You're very nice kind of thing, because that's how activists do it down here. That's what the culture is familiar. And I think it's important to adapt to the culture you're in, because they have all their history and they're not just going to change and be comfortable with your culture. Okay? So I didn't lose it. I had a lanyard on the camera and I just put it here. These kind of thugs, the private security thugs, do kind of fly off the handle when you start recording. The cops are used to being recorded here. They might try and push you around just like in the US. But if you're in these private places, they'll really try and get you to turn that camera off. So I'm good at using cameras. There's a risk when you're kind of doing covert because you could accidentally hit the button, especially when I don't have a shirt on, right? So I was in a shirtless state because I was at this water park. So I was looking more or less like a Gway, right? I was a dude. That's how I looked. I was looking like this dude, more or less. All right? All right, he's cool, right? Right? I just like the light. It's the light that's doing it for me. Anyways, back to the story. And I was getting pissed because I had people. I was with a group. I had people inside. We had entered, and I didn't read their stupid thing of signs, right? With bags and towels to go into this water park, this thermal spring water park. And I went back out for another bag, and I came in and they're like, hey, come here. We have to search your bag. And I'm like, what? No, you're not searching my bag. And I kept walking and they started freaking out. So I'm like, okay, whoa. These guys are going to lose it. Like I could feel the mood. I was a guy. I wasn't like had a bunch of family with me. The rest of the group was up here. I had just gone back to the car for something. I was alone. I'm like, they're going to try and screw with me. I stand out. So I say, and no cops, right? These are just asshole. In English, I will say it like it is, right? I will speak to our culture in English. I didn't say these words to them because that's not the culture here, even though they were. And like I said, I had the camera here. I left it recording front and back at the same time with the director's mode that's on the Samsungs. So I had that. If I can't do that, if I don't have an excuse to do that, I'll at least turn the camera on, record it, and stick it in my pocket. And that usually works really well. You're only getting audio, but you can grab it and pull it out really fast. And the whole time leading up to it, you have audio. It's a very good technique if you don't want to be an activist. Because as soon as you point the camera like this, you're an activist, right? If you're in a situation, if somebody's aggressive. If the camera is like this, you can kind of play it off, hey, yeah, whatever. Let's talk about this, right? And they don't register. People aren't paying that much attention. You should assume you're always being recorded, but most people don't. I said, look, I'm from the north. We don't just let people search our bags. A lot of people still do. But like in my world, we don't. And I hope you guys in generally don't. I don't let people look at my things. It's not that I'm doing anything wrong. I'm not trying to sneak alcohol in. Oh, but you might be. And they're like, here's the kicker. I said, fine. I'll put the bag back in the car. I don't want to fight about it. I'm just going to put my bag back in the car. I went and I put the bag back in the car, and I came back and they said, you can't come in. We're not letting you back in. I was like, what? I paid, right? Here's where I paid. I've done nothing wrong. You can't say, yeah, you can't come back in. So they get a burly guy, covers his face up to block the entrance. So I can't go back into the park. My group's in there. My things are in there. They're saying you can't come back in. I was really stressing out because I'm trying not to make a scene, right? Because as I've told you before, as a northern activist, when I'm out with Mexican people who don't think like activists, it freaks them out a little bit when I start going into activist mode, because not only are they not activists and they don't think that way. So, there's that first barrier, but also the way that I'd be activist tends to be Northern style, and it comes off as so aggressive and it scares them sometimes. So if I'm with a group of people, even in the States, if I'm out with a group of people, I don't want to make it all about activism and video. It's just really hard for me to shut up sometimes. And I stand up. But I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to make this about ego. We have to put ego aside as activists. So I'm going to do it their way. I'm going to do the calm. But I was pissed. It took me about 45 minutes to get back in. I went and talked to this person. I made a scene, but not make a scene like yelling. I'd be like, very friendly. Hey, I don't know what's going on. This makes no sense. So finally they get a supervisor down there and he's pointing at this sign of these rules. And he's trying to tell me, obviously I'm a gringo. He's like, oh, well, this rule says that if you do this and you reject us reviewing, blah, 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 we won't let you back in. And he's hoping, I guess, that I'm dumb. And I'm like, which rule? That one there. I said, that rule does not say that. And he's like, oh, well, that one there. I said, that rule has nothing to do with that. That rule's talking about people being drunk and alcohol. I don't have any alcohol. I'm not drunk and I haven't been drinking. Well, you might have alcohol in that bag in your car, they said. I mean, at this point, they were just like pulling it out of their asses. They were just pissed because I didn't submit and they wanted to prove a point. At this point, so I started getting calmer, right? But I also started showing that I knew the law. And eventually, they let me back in. It took me about 45 minutes. Obviously, I will be showing the world what a-holes they were, because what if I had not played the game, right? You cannot treat people that way. You can have a private business and you can say, no, you can't come in. But when someone pays you and you let them in and they've violated no one's rights, they've broken nothing, you cannot simply tell people, especially when they have other people inside and their belongings are inside. You can't be like, oh, we're not letting you in. You can't just make up crap. Now, private security does this more in Mexico than they do in the States. I'm sure you've experienced like this and crap like this in the States. But in the States, if a private security guard hits you in the mall, you are suing them and you are getting money. They're probably going to write you a check before you even find a lawyer so that they don't have to deal with it, because they know. Whereas in Mexico, yes, you can sue people, but the levels for proving damages and stuff like that are higher. And the system, while technically there's lots of consumer protection laws, sometimes wading through the process can be a hassle. But it is in the States too. I can't tell how many times I've had incidents with cops or friends had incidents with cops and they're like, oh, you're going to get a paycheck, right? You're going to sue them. Most of the time, those suits don't work in the US, even when the cops beat up and kill people. Jeff Winehouse, they tried to murder and he's still sitting in prison, guys. So let's not pretend like it all works out in the US either. Now, what I want to... Did I end the stream? Where's my stream? You gotta be kidding me right now. What on earth is going on? Am I still streaming? I lost my chat. Dang nabbit, this is supposed to be main show. Store. Live streaming. Oh wait, we're still there. You guys still hear me? No, it says connect. I think I went off. I think we're back. Oh, okay, I just lost the browser, I guess. But it looks like it kept the stream going because it's going direct to YouTube. Now I gotta edit this later, which sucks. But, all right, getting us back on topic. So I'll do a video about this story because there's more to it and I want to show you their mannerisms, but also I want to show how I responded. And I think I responded well, even though I was pissed and I wanted to tell them off and I didn't, because I'm trying to adapt and like deal with things in a way that the people I'm dealing with will understand better, right? Here you insult people, but you have to insult people in a way that can't directly be pointed at and said you insult people. The Spanish language, the culture, like it has its own complexities. And so ultimately I didn't get beat up. I got my stuff back. You know, I finished the afternoon and left. And of course, I will never go back and support this park. And I will make sure as many people as possible, they will be losing money because of how they treated me. And so it's one of those, I didn't say like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, you can't do this to me. I just quietly recorded everything. I'm like, you know what? You a-holes. this is how you treat people? Because if they're treating me like that, there's so much racism against their own people down here, right? I should call it classism. It's basically the same, where if you look wealthy, they'll treat you well, but if you're like a poor family, they'll screw you over with this kind of stuff. And in my case, it's because I stand up for myself. And sure, I do stand out because I'm the gringo and I stand up for myself. But I won't sit idly by and tolerate this kind of crap. Not from a private business, not from a police officer, not from government, not from anybody. You don't treat people like that. You cannot just have employees making up crap and telling people, oh no, we're not going to let you do that. Oh no, we're taking this from you. Oh no, you can't enter. No, you can't have your stuff. No, you can't be with your friends. We have to stop letting this. And I'm so tired. This is what pisses me off about people. It's the same thing we see with like the Reddit protest. I've talked about the Reddit protest last week. And I was watching a Louis Rasmussen video on this earlier, and he's pissed off too. He's like, they all just caved, right? They said, Reddit's screwing us over. We're going to protest for 48 hours or for a week, and we're going to shut down our Reddits. As soon as Reddit, these are the moderators on these Reddits are volunteers. They're known to be little tyrants themselves, a lot of them, but they're volunteers. They do all the heavy lifting. Reddit isn't like Facebook. They're not paying people to moderate. They have all these volunteer moderators, and these little moderators feel like powerful because a lot of the moderators on Reddit moderate like 100 big Reddits with millions of people. So they're like these basement dweller types. Not all, but a lot of them. They're notorious for this. You can find all kinds of videos about this. And they like feeling powerful. And so they did a protest for like a few days. And then Reddit said, look, we're going to start taking away your admins. And these are your communities, right? Created and moderated by but we're going to pull you from moderator, and we're just going to give the community to other moderators if you don't start opening these Reddits and take them out of private mode, right? They caved. People are constantly caving. And so every time you go somewhere and they're like, oh, we need to search your bag. Screw you. No, you don't. That's my stuff. You know what? I'm like, oh, really? Let me see your bag. Let's go look at your car, right? Let me see your cell phone. Who have you been talking to? Oh, look at this number. Let's go talk to your wife. Does she know who this is? And there's this mindset of like, well, it's suspicious that you won't let us review it. I don't care what you think is suspicious. And this is what's pissing me off, is this constant level of compliance, right? In everything. I understand, and I've said for years, like you can't fight every battle all the time. And I know, like, sometimes it's frustrating for me, and I know sometimes it's frustrating for people with me, because you go out and like, oh, we're going to go out for a group picnic. We're going to go out to the museum. We're going to go out to the water park, the balneario. But then, oh, we're with Gavin. And inevitably, it's not like I go out and I'm like, I'm going to go out and do activism at the water park. No, it's like, oh, I'm going to take a photo. Oh, look at that. And inevitably, someone tries to harass me, or I see someone else getting harassed, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, porque se enoja tu mamá. And I'll step in, right? And then it's on. And once I switch to activist mode, I stand up for myself and for other people, which of course then kind of makes a fiasco and a stress of the trip. And so I'm like, it's a balance, right? Any of you who are activists and actually like auditors, activists, like going, you know, it's hard sometimes because you don't want to be ruining everyone's day. Like sometimes people want to go out without stress and adrenaline and just enjoy the day. And I get that. And I've been trying to get that more and more and understand that and be adaptable and be quick. I've always tried to like analyze, how am I doing this? So here's the thing though. No one's fighting. What do you lose? I understand if you say like, you had a big trip plan and somebody's harassing you, like, oh, we have to do this. So I didn't say, like, if I went to the water park alone and they're like, oh, we're going to search your bag. No, you're not. Yeah, you're not entering unless we search your bag. You have to let us. If I'm alone, I'll be like, screw you, give me my money back. Or I'm calling the cops, right? And I'm going to put my foot down. But if I have a bunch of friends or kids with me and they're all excited to be there, right? And I've driven an hour, I'm just putting out scenarios. I'm going to feel bad saying like, oh, screw this, no one's going. We're not having any fun today, right? Because then I'm ruining it for them and they don't get that. They're smart, but that sucks. So in that case, I might say, you know what? No, that's not okay. You're not searching my bag. I'll just put it back in the car. Now, do I like to cave? It's not caving exactly because I won't let them see my things, but I should be like, screw you, give me my money back. But instead I might say in that case, no, we're not doing that. We'll just bring our stuff in with our hands, okay? But I'll never come back. I'm never supporting them again. I can't believe how dumb businesses are here, there, everywhere. Like you think, I'm so tired of businesses because they're popular, because they're big like Amazon, shutting down someone's entire smart home system because a Ring doorbell decided they were racist. Have you guys seen that story? I won't try and get too into that, but literally, this is why you don't put a smart house in, right? Your house should never be reliant on a-holes like Amazon. So you see these companies, you see Facebook, but we're getting to the point where if you don't meet up with the social credits, even though it's not officially a social credit system, you'll just be shut down. Oh, no more Amazon for you. No more TV for you. No more Facebook for you. You can no longer communicate with your friends. And you look at these social medias, they shouldn't have the power to do that, you guys. These social media platforms like Reddit, like Facebook, like Twitter, they exist solely from our content, from our minds and from the things we produce. They produce nothing of content. They produce a back end, and I understand that has value and that there can be some kind of rules as a private company, but you can't just arbitrarily treat people like crap. It's not okay. I don't care if you're a private company. And I'm so tired of even when they know our rights, right? Let's come over here and talk about just this incident, right? The fact that people cave all the time to go. I remember one time I went to that huge Ferris wheel in Vegas. And they're like, we're going to search the lady's purse. I said, no, you're not. You're not searching my wife's purse. You're not touching her things. I'm not having that. Oh, we're not letting you. And I made a scene right there in the middle. I don't know if I've ever released this video. I made a scene in the middle of this stupid entry hall where you paid to go on that giant Vegas Ferris wheel. I had my video camera on. I was telling people on the street, like, stop complying with this, you guys. And of course, they were pissed at me. Like, oh, he's just making a scene. Like, it's not a big deal. It's for security. Answer me this. In the past 30 years, 20, 30 years, ever since 9/11 and beyond, right? All over the world, security, it's to protect us. There's shootings, right? We could get into the fact that all these shootings always have suspicious things. They always have people that are on medications. That's a different conversation. But we say, oh, the security is just bad. The violence is bad. Ban guns. Oh, now nobody has guns. Did the violence get better in the countries that did that? You don't see people running around with guns in Mexico anymore. Now, despite popular, what's commonly talked about, you can still have guns in your home. It's still in the Constitution that you have a right to guns, but they've made it hard, right? They've made it a hassle because they've made transporting them. And when did this come from? This came from the 90s, early 2000s era, when I think it was President Felipe Calderón was in bed with George Bush. Mexico didn't want the drug war, and George Bush got the corrupt Felipe Calderón to go along with the drug war. They started the drug war, and they were afraid of the people because everyone here had guns, so they started restricting the guns. Now, to be fair, massive amounts of people still have guns. It's not actually like Australia where they all turn them in to have them destroyed, right? The guns are still in people's houses. But it's not the same. You can't just go to the hardware store and buy a gun anymore. And officially, you can get in trouble if you have a gun in your car or something like that. Answer me this, whether it's US, Mexico, England, anywhere in the world, has security improved since any of this? We're going to search your bags. You can't have more than an ounce of liquid. You can't have guns. You can't have knives. You can't say this. You can't go here. You can't enter here. Has anyone at all seen any improvement in security from any of these security rules? Name one. Is anyone safer? Because when you go to a water park, and I've seen them try and pull this in the States too. We just know how to handle it there better, right? We need a search in your bag. No, you don't. You can't assume I'm guilty for something. And this goes back, right? Do people not read? What's the Fourth Amendment? I'm going to read you the Fourth Amendment. It's pretty simple. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. It means no. That's what it means. The Fourth Amendment means you can't touch my things. You can't come into my home. And I know we say, okay, this is for government. A private place can do what they want. No, a private place can't do what they want. I understand, at least in U.S. law, that's not necessarily the same here in Mexico. In U.S. law, the Constitution is a rule for government in general. However, that doesn't mean that a business can violate your rights. So when I go in and say, okay, well, we're going to search your bag. No, you're not. Well, you can't come in. Okay, well, that's dumb. Maybe they have a right to say that as a private business. Everyone should say, screw you, give me my money back. You know, you want to know how fast? The problem is we always let it happen and we say nothing. Oh, stop fighting, honey. And we say nothing. Look what's happened because of that. When did this stuff first start happening? We're going to search your bags. Why? Do you have suspicion that I've committed a crime? Have I stolen? Do you have me on CCTV robbing something from the shelves? Then no, you're not going to search freaking anything. No one is standing up, and this is what pisses me off about people. And everybody talks about the US and God bless America and we're the freest. No, we're not. We're a fascist, stupid, ignorant, lazy nation that's not godlike, that's not Christ-like, that stands up for nothing but our own selfish interests and that abuses the entire world while thinking that we're America. When all of this is America. Like, we're so deluded with nationalism and ignorance that we can't even see what's right in front of us. And it doesn't matter if it's the water park or the theater. No, I remember them trying to do this at movie theaters, right? And I know in certain things, people will be like, no, it's maybe a little easier to fight back on some of that stuff. But at the end of the day, almost everyone just complies. The same, now Mexico has a constitution, right? People love to get on my videos and troll me and say, oh, you're such an idiot. That, you know, the US Constitution doesn't imply in Mexico. And I'm like, dude, I'm quoting the Mexican Constitution. Try to keep up. Now, this is something I've, of course, experienced, just like in the US, when I'm dealing with security personnel or police or something here, and I start rattling off the Constitution of Mexico, they are taken aback because they're completely clueless, just like cops in the US. They're just ignorant, just like the employees at this water park are. So let's look at Article 16 of the Mexican Constitution. Now, Mexican constitutional articles are a little longer. I'm not going to read it all. The US Constitution is kind of beautiful in that it's short and simple and sweet because it's so hard to change. But then again, it's basically just ignored by the courts because they're complete criminals. So yeah, like, this is the law, but it's not really the law anymore because it's completely ignored. Virtually every federal government agency is completely illegal if you actually read the Constitution, which takes like 20 minutes. The Mexican Constitution is more like most state constitutions in the US in that it's a lot easier to change, so it gets adapted more and changed around more. That's why the corrupt politicians from the late 90s, early 2000s found an easy path to restrict guns. And sure, there's been activists that fought against that, but in general, people just bow down. And down here, where it tends to be even poorer, people have less time and money to fight, right? You don't go to prison for a year just for punching a cop here. You probably go to jail for 48 hours and then they let you go. But they might beat you up a little on the way. So it's a very different, more Wild West kind of vibe, like you might see in old movies, and the culture is very different. But people are scared here too. And I get being scared, but there's strength in numbers. And you don't have to be scared of the water park. I get that not everybody is fighting everything. But these articles of the Constitution, and I say this all the time, these aren't giving you any rights. You have these rights, yeah. God-given rights, natural rights, whatever you want to call them. These are inalienable. These are rights as humans. The constitutions are just little rule books that we make to affirm those rights. They exist without them. Although most countries, if you don't write them down, inevitably your government will try to screw you over. And even when you do write them down, they'll probably try to screw you over. Okay, now let me just show you something here. This is the Mexican Constitution, Article 16. Now this is a US version from the Constitute Project, I think. I could show you and translate the Spanish version, but I'm just going to let you look at the English version because it's a lot simpler. But obviously this is normally in Spanish. No person shall be disturbed in his private affairs, his, her, family papers, properties, or be invaded at home without a written order from a competent authority duly explaining the legal cause of the proceeding. All people have the right to enjoy protection of his personal data, to access, correct, and cancel such data. You can tell that some of these things were added at a later date, not in the 1800s, right? So as you go through this, Only judicial authority can enter an arrest warrant. Such arrest warrant shall always be preceded by formal accusation or charge of misconduct. It goes on. And you can kind of read through this. It's longer. But in some ways, it's actually stronger. But you know how it works. The longer an article is in a constitution, the more it gets abused. Now, there's Article 16. Isn't it ironic that the fundamentals are the same as the Fourth Amendment? Oh, sure, I'm sure they looked at the Fourth Amendment when they wrote it, but it's because these are human rights, you guys. And so you might say, oh no, a water park doesn't have to follow the Constitution. Okay, but you don't have to submit and be a slave. And here's the other thing. It's one thing to say you can't bring the bag in, but these guys just wanted to screw with me. How many times have you seen stuff like this wherever you go, right? They were irritated. I poked their ego because I kind of laughed and said, no, you're not doing that. And basically said, hey, calm down. And then I calmed down and said, okay, I'm not going to fight. I'm going to play it cool. I just walked out, and they're like, a-holes, complete a-holes. Went and put the bag back in my vehicle and just came back. We're not letting you in. No, you're out. You're not coming back in. And I'm like, whoa, you can't do that. I paid. So watch the channel, because I'm going to put together the actual video with the evidence and try to do a video soon on this. I'm probably going to do a video in Spanish on this as well, because it's a very popular location and I want this out there. What I'm getting at here, though, is that just because you can say, oh, the 16th Amendment of the Mexican Constitution doesn't apply to searching bags. It does. I've used it many times when they tried to search my car. And I see, especially like young boys down here, teenagers, the cops are always trying to like look through their bags so they can, pester them. And I'm like, no, you don't. You guys, there's a video on this channel where I'm telling them, and my Spanish was terrible in those days. And I'm like, you cannot search the bags. Article 16 is very clear on this. You cannot enter people's personal property papers or things unless you have a warrant and are falling under all those clauses in the Constitution. It's the law. And everybody's like, oh, stop making trouble. I'm not making trouble. They're literally over here violating the law. They're the criminal. Everybody always says I'm a troublemaker. Almost my entire adult life, I've studied the law. Gavin, just follow the rules and stop making trouble. And I'm literally over here in the corner studying the rules and then going out and saying, no, this is the rules. Gavin, stop making trouble. So now I'm following the rules, but I'm still making trouble because I want them to follow the rules. And I'm sick of this. What pisses me off is people aren't standing up. Every time we bow down, I know you got to pick your battles, right? You took all your kids to the water park. You don't want to leave. But you know what you can do? You can say no. But you know what I'm going to do? We're going to go in. We're going to put our bags back in the car since you're trying to screw with our privacy. And you know what we're going to do after we leave and after the kids have fun, buddy? We're going to leave the worst reviews in Google. We're going to tell everybody to never come to this park. And we're going to tell everybody that we know to spread the word. And see how you like that. You have to start speaking with your wallets and using your brains. Apply human rights to your life for a change and start defending them. None of this, oh, it's a private business, BS. If a business is screwing with your privacy, your rights, screw them. Stand up for yourself. And I know the bag thing is just an example today because I had an incident, but this applies to everything. It applies to checkpoints. Was the world less safe before we had checkpoints everywhere? No. There was a lot more freedom, a lot more peace. We had more money. We had houses and cars paid off. If you go back to the 50s, 60s, 70s. Now, I know we can point to civil rights issues and all this stuff and say, no, this was bad, but it still is. We've just put whitewash over everything and lawsuits, and a few people win here and there, but they're still screwing us over. The prisons are still full of poor and minorities and people like Jeff Winehouse that tried to stand up, people like Jim Hamilton, people like Schaefer Cox. It never ends because we keep bowing down. And that was my point today. And that's what pisses me off about people. And I'm sorry if I went on too long. I'm going to end the official part of the show. That's what I have to say. Peace to you all. Keep loving your neighbor and spreading the word. And just think about it.